30th of January, Tuesday, -4 degrees Celsius, cold and windy day. From Ivan Hindi, Major General, Hungarian military commander of Budapest, to Minister of Defense and Chief of the General Staff, currently in Sopron. Troop morale and enemy activity in Budapest. During the night of the 29th of January, 50 soldiers from the Sake Udvarhely Gendarmerie Battalion fighting alongside German units defected to the enemy. Desertions are not isolated incidents and their number varies. I report the following observations concerning these events. The civilian population of Budapest, bombed out of their homes and shelters, robbed of their possessions and suffering from hunger, thirst, and constant fire from both sides, are increasingly expressing their hatred towards the Germans and Aerocross through unstoppable whispered propaganda. They consider their suffering and the destruction of the capital to be meaningless sacrifices. They resent the presence of their own soldiers in the shelters, as there have been instances where the Russians, during their occupation of these shelters, distributed food, cigarettes, and even brought water for the residents. Because of this, many are looking forward to the Russians as liberators. The Russians respond to every observed military movement with mine-laying, but they do not fire on civilians. The Germans' behavior towards the Hungarian population and soldiers further supports the effectiveness of targeted Russian propaganda. The following are not isolated incidents. The SS, often without any substantiated suspicion, arrest and detain civilians and Hungarian soldiers for extended periods in the most horrific conditions. Their release is often solely due to the intervention of the I Corps. Hungarian officers are verbally abused and even physically assaulted without cause. During attacks, the Germans lag behind and drive Hungarian soldiers forward at gunpoint. Meanwhile, resting German units loot the quarters of Hungarian soldiers. Unarmed workers have been forced to participate in attacks merely to create a diversion, resulting in heavy casualties. These factors contribute to the declining morale and increasing instances of desertion among Hungarian troops.
László Szabó, 39 years old, writer. Buda, District 2, Newell Street.
I hear footsteps feeling their way through the closed doors from the direction of the gate. The luminous dial of my watch shows 3 a.m. I sit up, call out softly. My voice hits a wall of pitch black and heavy, oppressed breathing. Another door opens in the basement. 2 or 3 pairs of feet come to a halt. To the right is the coal cellar and the woodshed. To the left, the shelter. The footsteps head left. The curtain flutters to one side. 3 giants in snow-covered hoods stand in the opening. H sits up abruptly. I've been awake for a while. The Germans wore snow capes with hoods just like this. It could be them, one of their patrols. We stare at each other. No one speaks. Suddenly, one of the giants raises his arm and laughs. "Servus, servus, Ruski, Ruski," he says rapidly. The whole shelter bursts into laughter. We survived the siege.
Neseu László, 15 years old. Buda, District 1, Mészáros Street 32.
Everyone woke up at 1:40 a.m. German soldiers entered the apartment through the bombed-out door. Their commander reassured my father, who rushed out to meet them, that nothing would happen to anything. At 2 o'clock a.m. they led horses into the apartment. 19 horses. Everyone, of course, is in the shelter. Father and mother are so despondent that nothing, simply nothing, interests them anymore.
Juhász Eszter, 22 years old. District 11, Orlery Street 4.
I was sitting in the kitchen by the hallway door, facing the window, knitting a sweater. Suddenly, a huge explosion shook the whole house. My eyes and mouth filled with dust, shards of glass rained down on my lap, and finally, the door fell on me. When I finally wiped the dust from my eyes, I ran to the courtyard to see what had actually happened. The first thing I saw was that a wall was missing from the neighbour's apartment, and ours hadn't escaped damage either. The neighbour's villa was completely destroyed. Our house, from this side, looked as if it had been shaved. The plaster had fallen off everywhere, the bricks were bare. From the outside, you really couldn't tell that our apartment was completely destroyed. I only saw that when we got upstairs. Well, We won't be living here anytime soon. There are no walls, no doors, no windows, no furniture. The clothes and linens are mostly intact, but everything is terribly dirty. In the living room, the walls have disappeared, but the chandelier is hanging completely intact, and even the bulbs are undamaged. I think we'll find a few more strange things like that if we take the trouble to clear away the rubble. For now, let everything stay as it is. The clothes we don't need right now can stay where they are. They're safer there than in the basement. This way, no one is tempted to steal. It would be very difficult and dirty work. Well, I don't want to say it isn't strange to lose our apartment like this, the place where I've lived almost my entire life, but I think the main thing is that we're alive. A new home can be put together, but if we had died, we couldn't have created a new life for ourselves. Istvanka hasn't really noticed anything. He's playing calmly in the small room and drank half a litre of cocoa without any difficulty. At most, he says, "Leave me alone, airplane," or "Go away, Ivan," if he gets really tired of it all. When we came down, we met the Germans, who anxiously asked what had happened. I had to laugh when I saw them, and I invited them to a summer party, since our apartment is appropriately airy now. Werner was surprised by my behaviour and said admiringly, "The young lady hasn't lost her humour," and he became quite cheerful, which we couldn't have said about him before. I really must thank God for blessing me with such strong nerves. I didn't even get a racing heart.